Welcome back from your break. This is our third and final segment for this session. And this is a really, really, really important part. This is what we call the part where we teach you how to detox.
Yes.
So it's like detoxing,
Exactly.
but for your ex.
Yes.
Yes. So this is a pretty exciting experience. Do you want to explain what we're gonna do?
So first we'll take you through the what. Okay. So what is real? What is detoxing? Detoxing is really like a cleanse of your ex. Okay. And in order to really cleanse and really detach from your ex, and we're not saying it's easy.
It's actually really hard.
Yeah. We are so technically connected to each other these days. We have each other's phone numbers, we have each other's email addresses, Facebook pages, Twitter accounts, and the list goes on and on. We need to, cancel, clear, delete all of those ways in which we could contact our ex and that our ex could contact us.
Or we can track our ex.
Yeah.
Like at Foursquare.
Yes, exactly. Where they're checking in on a Friday night so we could show up looking our best.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
I've never done that.
So what really detoxing is, detaching from your ex technologically, and any type of communication, written word, phone, in person, what have you. We need to cancel that out. In order, if you really want to move on. I mean, this is really the only way for you to move on. We get asked that question constantly. Like, how could I forget about my ex? How could I really move on and let go?
Yeah, and we're not asking you to forget. Of course, you're never going to forget. Your memories are indelibly marked in your heart, and that's not a bad thing. But it's about not having. The reason we need to do this is we don't want to have in our day to day presence distraction from our healing process. And the one thing that can distract us negatively is our ex.
Yeah.
And you really have to ask yourself, why hang on? With all the women that we've worked with, we've noticed that the women who haven't progressed, they haven't done this step.
Yeah.
Now, we just want to be mindful if any of you have kids, that we realize you can't have a complete detox, at least technologically, because you need to co parent, and that's okay. But it's about minimizing it. And, if you were Facebook friends, you don't need to be Facebook friends anymore. All you really need is phone numbers, just to text information. I'm dropping Johnny off at 7, and
Right.
that's it.
Right.
But this is really, really a crucial step, and your progress will be paralyzed if you don't do this part. But like we said, it's really difficult. And good thing to ask yourself if you feeling stuck and you're like, oh, I just can't delete him off my Facebook or my Twitter, is what's the point of staying in touch?
Yeah.
What are you going to benefit? How are you going to gain something from staying in touch for this period? Now, it doesn't mean it has to be forever. We believe that if you disconnect for 6 months and are truly over your ex and you move forward and you're feeling healthy and full again, and for some reason you want to connect with them, maybe it's a business reason or you feel like there might be a friendship at play, then you can go ahead and do that. But not at this time because you're way too raw.
Yeah. And I think too, and you're probably asking yourself, and we're really conscious of this, like what will you feel once you do that? Because we can't promise you're going to feel like relieved and like at peace. For the most part, you won't. It is like, severing ties, with the person you love. It's kind of like, cutting that person out of your heart. It doesn't feel good. It feels really uncomfortable. But if you could just keep in the back of your head that this is the best thing for your progress, to getting to a better place and a happier place and a more loving place, it really is, to Tristan's point, it's the only way you could really get there and move on. And lastly, like what are the benefits and what are the detriments? The benefits of, detoxing is, not being able to listen when if you're connected with him on Facebook and he said, this was the best Saturday night I've had in years, I can't wait to do it again tomorrow night, your mind unravels. You start thinking he, met a girl, or, him and his friends are in Vegas, hooking up with every stripper out there. You really start to kind of lose sight of exactly what's going on. Meanwhile, he could have just had dinner, with his family and had a good time.
And that sort of brings us back to our chart.
Yeah.
if we kind of look at if we buy into this theory and we look at the trigger as you see something shocking on Facebook, you have all these crazy thoughts, you start doing crazy things like, can we say, drive by his house?
Yeah.
And then you feel horrible. You feel really unsettled and miserable.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no, like Tristan said, there's no value in it. There's nothing that's going to make you feel, you're not going to hear anything. He's not going to put on Facebook, I'm miserable, I want her back, because ultimately that's what we want to hear, right? So really, the detriment of holding on is seeing those photos of him being happy, out with his friends, or those status updates that could really, you know, unravel our thoughts and emotions and bring us to a much worse place than we already are at. It's really in the not knowing that helps us move on, and that's like part of the benefit.
So this is a trigger that you can actually control.
Yeah.
You can actually delete this possible trigger from your life altogether. So that's what we're encouraging. And we talk about it a lot because we're really serious about it.
Yeah.
We know how crucial it is. So there's a few assignments that we have for you. Every week you get homework, as I think you already know. And we have a few assignments that surround this very topic of detoxing. And this homework assignment this week is called Exercise Him from Your Life. Exorcise. It sounds a little brutal, but
exorcism.
An exorcism of your ex. But it's pretty important. And we have 3 techniques for you to employ to be able to do this. You want to talk about the first one?
Yeah. So timing your thoughts. As we have said throughout this, throughout the 3 videos, our thoughts can take control of us, and they could, rapidly increase as the days go on, once we're triggered, by something, or even thinking about, our ex, or a situation that happened within our last relationship, whatever it may be. And it's really important to, not only know what it is you're thinking about and obsessing over, but to time them. And the one I will give this exercise to anyone because it's really helped me. For the first 3 to 4 months of my relationship, I was walking around with a rubber band on my wrist, and every single time I thought something either about my ex, about myself, or about the relationship, I snapped that rubber band, because it reminded me that so much of my time
and energy,
and energy was taken up thinking about someone who, was not in my life anymore, didn't necessarily deserve to be in my life anymore, but yet I was, he and the relationship was taking up so much time. And I also snapped it when I thought about myself and started blaming myself, because that is also really, negative time keep, when you think about it. And I started, once I started snapping that and getting really upset every time, I had those thoughts, I started to register just how much time throughout my day I allowed myself to go to that kind of like mucky, ugly place of thought. And, so that is probably one of the easiest ways to time your thoughts. Unless, do you have another example?
I think that is the ideal way. I think another way, because our goal with this isn't to erase your memories. This isn't some sort of like voodoo trick you can play on your brain to erase your memories. We just want your thoughts to be productive thoughts, healthy thoughts, something that you can use in your breakup experience to move forward with it. I find a useful technique is to get a kitchen timer and set it for 5 minutes. And the first day, 3 times, and then eventually 2 times, eventually 1 time you won't need anymore. And during this 5 minute session, to just sit contemplatively by yourself, quietly in a peaceful place, and decide for the next 5 minutes, I'm going to think about this breakup. Whatever thoughts come in my head, I'm not going to deny them. I'm going to entertain them. Thoughts about him, thoughts about the breakup, thoughts about myself for 5 minutes. And you will find that you probably don't need all those 5 minutes. But the idea is to isolate those experiences at the beginning to 3 times a day, eventually 2, eventually 1, then you won't need them anymore. So that you don't have to just have, again, it's about sort of like being able to control. And to this sense, control is a very healthy thing. To control your time and your energy, the way that you spend it, so that you're not overtaken, as Janice was talking about, constantly having these thoughts that not only are really impeding, but they disable us from being able to do the things that we want to do. such as work effectively at your job, or hang with your friends in like a place where you're truly present. So we do recommend that you get, a kitchen timer and just isolate it to this time. And the first few days when you're doing it for three occasions, that if something comes in your head, you can stop the rubber band and go, I'm going to think about this at 1 o'clock, because 1 o'clock is my next installment for 5 minutes, and you can hold yourself off till then. And eventually, you're going to find 5 minutes feels like forever. You don't even have 5 minutes of thoughts.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Yeah. So the second one we already pretty much spoke to, but it's tech cleansing. So this is going through your technology repertoire and figuring out every which way you're connected to your ex, phone, through calling or text, any kind of messaging, GChat, AIM, Facebook messaging, obviously Facebook, Twitter, Foursquare. I can't think of anything else. MySpace. If you're old like us, Friendster. I don't know, like whatever. It's any way that you guys are wired together, you need to cancel those, and that's probably the hardest part, as we talked about, but also the most crucial.
I will say this too, and so many of the women that we have, advised in the Breakup Club courses have said, but I know his phone number by heart. And, obviously, we tend to, that does tend to register. So instead of having his name, if he calls or whatever come up, why don't you put something like the devil or toxic or whatever it may be, to remind yourself, if you're going to text them, that's what's going to come up. Or if they're going to call, that's what's going to come up, as a reminder of not to answer, not to text back, things along those lines. And the other thing that I did, we had mutual friends, and I loved his family and he loved my family. So we had a, pretty mutual breakup. So we ended up doing it together, where we took it offline by ourselves. We got off Facebook, we emailed, mutual friends and family, and told them that we were going to defriend, them on Facebook. And, many people understood, and it was just another way of just completely detaching, not only from him but from people in his life as well.
So there's a lot of options. For me, I would delete the phone number, because by deleting the phone number, if I did get tempted to call, I would, of course, I knew the phone number, but I would have to think before I called. I couldn't just hit the name. I actually had to put the numbers in, and just that 7-second delay made me think. It's sort of how you never carry a loaded weapon. You have to load the weapon, because when you're loading, you have to think, do I want to do this?
Right.
And that's exactly what the phone is. It's like a loaded weapon. Yeah. You're just waiting to hurt yourself. Terrible analogy. Okay, so there's that. And then the final one, I love this one. You want to talk about it?
Redoing your room. So, our bedroom is where the magic happens with our ex, and there are, obviously many conversations that happen in the bedroom, and, many, intimate occasions. And, we want to, that should be our sanctuary. Our bedroom should be our sanctuary, where we go to and be at peace, and we're able to sleep, and, and just kind of be grounded. So we advise redoing your room. And we know, with the economy being the way it is and everything, not everyone has the money to repaint, refurnish, what have you. It could just be the little things. Like, you're so big on,
changing the
bedding.
Sheets.
Yeah.
No matter what, go to Target, hit the sale. You've got to change your sheets. You can't sleep on the same sheets that you slept in with. You just can't.
Yeah. No, absolutely. We've also, went out and bought new pictures to put up.
Taking his picture down, of course.
Yes.
Or any pictures of yourself. I remember for so long, I'd gone to Hawaii with my ex, and I kept this amazing picture of just me up. But even though it was just me, it always reminded me of him.
Hawaii,
so I had to take it down.
Yeah. Even kind of like get a few friends and rearrange your room. Put your bed in a different spot, or, a chair up against the wall, whatever.
Burn sage.
Yeah, exactly.
Buy yourself flowers. Spray girly perfume. Get rid of man funk. And obviously, along with this process, is you want to get rid of anything that was his.
Yeah.
Give it back to him. Donate it. Trash it. Whatever it is you need to.
Yeah.
So that's our homework for this week.
Yeah.
And that concludes this session of BreakUP Club. And we hope you've enjoyed it. And we look forward to seeing you on the chat in a little bit.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.